I should have said something. I just
You look good in the shirt. You want me to start?
You're busy.
He's coming to start. Okay. Is his microphone?
No, your microphone actually turn on.
Hello?
Yep, do you have any, Priscilla? Are you there? Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Call to order the April 19, 2023 Lower Saucon Township Council meeting. Mark, please call the roll.
Mr. Benonis?
Here.
Mr. Carocci?
Here.
Ms. DeLeon? Ms. DeLeon? Mr. Inglis?
Here.
Ms. Yerger?
Here.
All right, everyone please stand and put your flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag. All right, council did not meet in executive session tonight. I'll remind everyone of our public comment procedure. Again, this is resolution 31, 2023. And I will read a copy of it into the record. Resolution of Council of Lower Saucon Township adopting agenda policy and code of conduct for township council meetings, whereas Lower Saucon Township, the township is a second-class optional plan of government located in Northampton County, Pennsylvania, and is governed by an elected council, whereas the Pennsylvania Home Rule Charter and optional plans law, the second-class township code of Lower Saucon Township Administrative Code all authorize the council of Lower Saucon Township to promulgate rules and regulations for its council meetings, whereas the Lower Saucon Township Council is authorized to establish a level of stability and promote an atmosphere of reasoned expression, ideas to promulgate rules and regulations for its council meetings, whereas the council recognizes public comment is intended to afford citizens an opportunity for important matters to the attention of Lower Saucon Township Council, whereas the council is a strong advocate of free speech and wishes to promote an atmosphere of reasoned expression of ideas. Now therefore be it resolved that the council of Lower Saucon Township establishes the following rules, regulations regarding agenda for public meetings and public comment and conduct during such public meetings. Agenda. All regular and special meetings of Lower Saucon Township Council shall be conducted according to the following order of business: opening, call to order, roll call, pledge of allegiance to the flag, announcement of any executive session if applicable, public comment procedure, public comment agenda items, residents, taxpayers only, presentations, hearings, developer items, township business items, miscellaneous business items, council and staff reports, public comment, non-agenda items, residents, taxpayers only, and adjournment. Township manager, in accordance with the code of Lower Saucon Township, shall prepare a printed agenda for each meeting of the council and provide the same for the public review at least 3 days prior to the commencement of each such meeting. The agenda and any non-confidential accompanying material shall be posted on the township website. The agenda without material shall be posted at the township building, and copies shall be available at the meeting. Any council person who wishes to have an item listed on the agenda shall present a written request to the township manager with sufficient detail to describe the item at least 7 calendar days prior to the date of the meeting. Written request shall be accompanied by the consent of one other council person to the request. This process shall not apply to emergency or special meeting of this township council. Public comment and participation. Public participation, including public comment relating to agenda items, shall occur at the beginning of the meeting and shall be listed on the agenda as public comment agenda items, residents, taxpayers only. Public participation, including public comment, will not be allowed after the commencement of the council's business meeting or during any other agenda item. Public participation, including public comment, shall be within the discretion and under the direction and control of the council president or acting council president. Public comment shall be made only by Lower Saucon Township residents and taxpayers. Persons wishing to make comments to the council must put their names on a sign sheet to be used by the council president to allocate the available time among those wishing to speak. Residents and/or taxpayers of Lower Saucon Township shall announce their name prior to addressing the township council. Public comment may be made only by a resident or taxpayer and be recognized by the council president. Comments about items on the agenda will be limited to no more than 3 minutes per person. Council president or acting council president shall, in his or her sole discretion, be permitted to expand the individual comment period by no more than 2 minutes. Upon request from the individual, thereafter, additional time may be allowed only upon motion approved by the majority of the council. Organized groups of people attending the meeting to present a common position or idea to the council shall designate no more than 2 members to speak for the group. No speaker will be allowed to surrender his or her time to any other person or to call upon other persons for comment. No resident or taxpayer shall obstruct in any way the entrances or exits to the township council meeting room. The resident or taxpayer shall address the township council from the lectern situated in the center of the township council meeting room unless the resident or taxpayer is physically unable to do so. All public comment will be addressed to the township council. Nothing herein shall require any council member to answer questions or engage in debate. Members of the audience may not address other members of the audience who argue, speak, or yell back and forth at or to each other. To facilitate the business of the township and to maintain order, there should be no foul or vulgar language used or gestures made during the meeting. Comments should be substantive and not include any defamatory comment and/or personal attacks on the integrity of others, whether or not present. Letters shall not be read during public comment unless such letters can be read within the allotted 3-minute time limit for individual public comment. No extension shall be granted for residents or taxpayers reading a letter during public comment. Any letter cited or read may be submitted to the township manager. Copies of any documents being reviewed or discussed during the public comment shall be made available to council. At all times, each attendee at the council meeting shall respect the point of view of others. No comment, disagreement with another's point of view shall involve a personal attack on the character of others with a different viewpoint. Any conduct disruptive of the township council meeting and interfering with the business of the township, such as talking when not recognized by the council president or acting council president, talking beyond the allotted time, and/or use of cell phone shall not be tolerated. The council president or acting council president will rule out of order any speaker or comment which is defamatory, contentious, scandalous, impertinent, redundant, or disruptive of the proceedings of the meeting. The conduct and/or an order of the township meeting is no longer maintained. The council president or acting council president may recess the meeting to restore order so the business of the township may be conducted when the meeting resumes. Public comment shall not contain personal attacks of any nature directed toward or against any council person, employees of Lower Saucon Township, members of the audience, or any other person. Period of public comment shall be placed at the end of each agenda for comments relating to non-agenda items. The rules and regulations contained herein shall apply to this public comment period as well. Purpose of public comment shall be for residents or taxpayers to comment on matters that concern official action or deliberation which are or may be before the council prior to official action being taken. The council will not respond to comment made during the public portion of the meeting unless it is necessary to ask a clarifying question, correct a factual error, or provide specific information. The purpose of public comment is not for residents or taxpayers to engage in argument or debate with members of council, the administration, or other residents. The council president shall maintain order in accordance with such purpose. This resolution shall repeal and replace Resolution 31, 2022, resolved and adopted this 3rd day of January 2023. So, copies of this are available for anyone who would require a copy, needs a copy outside the council meeting room. So, we'll now move on to presentations, hearings, ordinance, and resolutions. I'm sorry. Let's public comment. Thank you. All right, public comment. First person I have on the list is Bob Lasko. Mr. Lasko.
Not aiming there. Not dead or anything like that. Hello? I'll take your word for it. Is that it? Okay. Mr. Adonis, last committee meeting, you made sure that you asked Mr. Treadwell if there were township boroughs, et cetera, that had been sued for not having enough LM zoning, and was asked to justify the changes in zoning in 3 areas in our township. Rhetorical question coming up here. Does anyone here believe that the current council is afraid or shy of lawsuits? At the procedural hearing on Monday, Mr. Treadwell told the judge that if you watched the meeting videos, you would see people cursing and some even crying. Yes, Mr. Treadwell, some occurs perhaps not allowed in meeting protocol. But of those attending...
Sir, can I interrupt you? Sir, Mr. Blasko, this is for agenda items. Can you identify which agenda item you're speaking to?
I'm sorry, I thought this was for a non-agenda.
No, you signed the agenda item form.
I signed the non-agenda also.
Okay.
But I thought this was...
We're at the, so, sir, we're at the agenda portion of the meeting.
Okay.
Is there an agenda item here? There's a number of resolutions that we have here recognizing
That's fine.
Firefighters Day,
I'll take your
Police
word
Week,
for
Public
it.
Works Week, the
That's
annual
fine.
report. All right, thank you. All right, next we have Andrea Witchen.
Yes, I have 3 items to cover. The first is Resolution 41 of 2023. Do I understand correctly that the total legal fees that will now be budgeted for the current year is $435,500?
So Resolution 40, 2023 is recognizing the National Public Works Week.
No, 41, 2023.
I'm sorry, I thought you said 40, 2023. Okay.
Does that correctly state that the amount set aside in the budget for the current fiscal year for legal and special legal fees totals a grand total of $435,500? All right, I believe that that correctly represents 5% of the budget of this entire township. I find that appalling. Secondly, in the budget amendment that accompanies that resolution, each of the items is identified in a separate paragraph. However, in the resolution, there is only one vote on 3 clearly disparate items. I believe that this does not well serve the residents of this township, who have a right to know if their council members have any objection to one or more of those resolutions. Instead, you force them to vote on all 3 when they have really no reference to each other. So I believe it would be in the interest of transparency for you to use separate resolutions when you are going to do budget transfers on highly disparate items. And the third item is the item to be considered for the EAC backyard composting workshop, that you will be considering subsidizing a portion of the fee for township residents. I would suggest that if you can budget $435,000 or 5% of our budget for legal fees, you can probably afford to pay 100% of the $70 compost fee for every resident who wants to show up. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Laura Ray.
Laura, is this one? Laura Ray. I had two items to address. The one was 5C, the budget adjustments as well. So it also caught my eye. Well, I knew we were heading there anyway because of where we were with using up that budget amount. So originally we budgeted $211,180. And additional, I see $240,880, so I came up with $452,060. That's even if we stay within this budget, which is maybe not too likely. So that's almost $500,000 that we're spending on legal fees, so that's incredible and saddening and outrageous. And I wondered, on some of the things that we're doing the legal cases on, is there any cost-benefit analysis to determine if it's even worthwhile pursuing? And specifically, that would be the case against OCL. I'm wondering if that gets won, what exactly are we winning? I mean, is it just a victory? I mean, I don't see that there would be any service provided out of that or reimbursement for your fees or anything like that. So the other item I had was 5I, and that was the letter of support for Upper Saucon Township grant for the rail trail bridge over Preston Lane. And I fully support that. I think that's great. I love using the rail trail. So I do support that. I'm expecting that it would be a unanimous vote. But then that would be a little confusing because in March, we had a letter of support from Bethlehem asking when they're applying for a grant for the trail gap that exists between the Bethlehem Greenway to Hellertown, you opposed that. So I didn't understand that vote at all. There was no obvious explanation, and it just highlighted the ridiculous bias that exists against Hellertown, I guess because they were the other end of that part of the rail trail. But it all goes right through Lower Saucon and we all use it, so please support that.
Okay, thank you. Next is Marco Zimic.
Pass.
Okay, that concludes the public comments on agenda items. Move on now to Resolution 38-2023, which is recognized International Firefighters Day. Resolution 38-2023 has been prepared to recognize the volunteers who serve on Lower Saucon Fire Rescue in conjunction with International Firefighters Day, which occurs on Thursday, May 4th. I know we have some of our firefighters who are here, and I'll share with the public the language that's in the resolution. So, Resolution 38-2023, resolution recognizing and honoring firefighters for their bravery, dedication, and heroism, and dedicating May 4, 2023 as Firefighters Day in Lower Saucon Township. Whereas in 1736, Benjamin Franklin founded the first volunteer fire company, Union Fire Company, in Philadelphia, making Pennsylvania the birthplace of volunteer fire service in North America. And whereas Lower Saucon Township is one volunteer fire department which operates a total of 4 fire stations, and whereas firefighters perform selfless tasks quietly and often without the recognition they deserve, risking their lives daily to protect the lives and property of the residents of this township, and whereas changes in society and in the environment have increased the dangers these individuals face daily in the performance of their duties as protectors of the residents and property of this township, and whereas the increased number of motor vehicle crashes, brush fires, and general calls for service have placed firefighting in greater danger than ever before in the history of firefighting, and whereas the time that firefighters devote to protecting the lives and property of the residents of Lower Saucon Township represents time taken away from their families, and whereas May 4th annually serves as International Firefighters Day, a worldwide celebration that started in 1999, and whereas International Firefighters Day serves as a time to thank current and past firefighters for their contributions and to remember those men and women who have made the ultimate sacrifice to save and protect lives in their neighborhoods. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Council of Lower Saucon Township, Jason Benonis, President, Mark Inglis, Vice President Tom Carocci, Priscilla De Leon, and Sandra Yerger, Council members, wish to recognize and honor firefighters for the bravery, dedication, and heroism, and that May 4, 2023 be designated as Firefighters Day in Lower Saucon Township, adopted and enacted this 19th day of April 2023. Attest Mark Hudson, Township Secretary, and Lower Saucon Township, Jason Benonis, Council President. I will wholeheartedly make a motion to adopt this resolution. I thank the firefighters for all their selfless service to the township for the many years, and we look forward to a continued strong relationship with them as we move forward.
I'll second.
Mr. Benoit?
Yes.
Mr. Carocci?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
Move on.
Move on.
Mr. Inglis?
Yes.
Ms. Yerger?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great.
We're on.
All right, thank you again. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, next is Resolution 39, 2023, recognizing National Police Week, May 14 to May 20, 2023. Resolution 39, 2023 has been prepared honoring peace officers for their bravery, dedication, and heroism, and designates May 15, 2023 as Peace Officers Memorial Day, with May 14 to 20, 2023 designated as Police Week in Lower Saucon Township. And I'll share with you the resolution. Resolution 39, 2023, resolution recognizing and honoring peace officers for their bravery, dedication, and heroism, designated May 15, 2023 as Peace Officers Memorial Day, and May 14 through 2023 as Police Week in Lower Saucon Township. Whereas in 1962, Congress authorized and President Kennedy proclaimed May 15 of each year Peace Officers Memorial Day in honor of the federal, state, and municipal officers who have been killed or disabled in the line of duty, further designating the calendar week in which May 15th falls as Police Week, and has directed that flags be flown at half-staff on Peace Officers Memorial Day. And whereas in every community, law enforcement officers are committed to the preservation of life and property, risking their lives to protect us by providing law and order and serving the cause of justice. And whereas law enforcement officers, including members of the Lower Saucon Township Police Department, accept a profound responsibility and work to uphold our laws, safeguard our rights and our freedoms. And whereas we honor the heroism and dedication of all law enforcement officers, especially those who have paid the ultimate price with their lives. And whereas across the nation, Police Week is observed with ceremonies including the hanging of a blue bow or ribbon to honor law enforcement officers who have sacrificed their lives in the line of duty, and to honor those who still strive to keep us safe. And whereas all citizens are encouraged to express their deep appreciation to the men and women who risk their lives to guard and protect us, now therefore be it resolved that the Council of Lower Saucon Township, Jason Benonis, President, Mark Inglis, Vice President, Tom Carocci, Priscilla De Leon, and Sandra Yerger, Council members, wish to recognize and honor peace officers for their bravery, dedication, and heroism, and that May 15, 2023 be designated as Peace Officers Memorial Day, and May 14 to 2023 as Police Week in Lower Saucon Township, adopted and enacted this 19th day of April 2023. Attest Mark Hudson, Township Secretary, Lower Saucon Township, Jason Benonis, Council President. I will again wholeheartedly make a motion to approve this resolution. Thank all of our police officers for their selfless service to the community, and it's remarkable what they do for us on a daily basis.
I'll second that, Jason.
Thank you, Sandy. Mark?
Mr. Carocci, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Inglis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Yerger, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Benonis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right, I know that Chief Barn is not here, and I don't know if any of our officers are here, but Mark, if you would extend our thanks to members of the police force when you see them tomorrow and throughout the week.
I will.
Appreciate it, thank you. All right, next we have Resolution 40-2023, recognizing National Public Works Week, May 21 to May 27, 2023. Resolution 40-2023 has been prepared to recognize public works employees for their hard work and dedication, and to recognize May 21 to 27, 2023 as Public Works Week in Lower Saucon Township, and I'll share with you the resolution. Resolution 40-2023, resolution recognizing public works employees for their hard work and dedication, and to designate May 21 through 27, 2023 as Public Works Week in Lower Saucon Township. Whereas citizens are served every day by public employees at the federal, state, county, and municipal levels, and whereas the actions of these public employees enhance the quality of life in communities across the nation, and whereas Lower Saucon Township is served by a dedicated group of public works employees who provide a variety of services to our residents, to ensure their safety and health, and whereas included among these duties are keeping the township's roads well-maintained and free of snow in winter. And whereas the Public Works employees of Lower Saucon Township not only maintain our road infrastructure, but also keep our pavilions, parks, and the Saucon Rail Trail beautiful for all to use. And whereas all citizens are encouraged to express their appreciation to the employees of the Public Works Department for the contributions they make every day to our health, safety, comfort, and quality of life. Now therefore be it resolved that the Council of Lower Saucon Township, Jason Bononis, President, Mark Inglis, Vice President, Tom Carocci, Priscilla De Leon, and Sandra Yerger, Council members, wish to recognize and honor Public Works employees for their hard work and dedication and designate May 21 through 27, 2023 as Public Works Week in Lower Saucon Township. Adopted and enacted this 19th day of April 2023, attests Mark Hudson, Township Secretary, Lower Saucon Township, Jason Bononis, Council President. I will again wholeheartedly make a motion to approve Resolution 40-2023 and thank Public Works workers for their selflessness and their dedication to maintaining our community.
I'll second. Ms. De Leon, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Inglis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Yerger, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Bononis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Carocci, how do you vote?
Yes.
Motion passes.
And again, Mark, if you would share with Roger and the other members of Public Works our appreciation for their efforts. Thank you.
Todd Johnson.
And Ty Johnson, who's here as well. All right. So next on the agenda is Lower Saucon Fire and Rescue Annual Report Presentation. I know that we have Ty Johnson here, Scott Creech is here, and I believe some others from the departments. If you want to come forward.
Just turn them off.
Check.
How's everybody tonight?
Great, how are you guys?
So on
Thanks for
behalf,
coming in.
so on behalf of myself and Lower Saucon Fire Rescue, we'd like to present our 2022 operational report to the township. Basically, it's what we've kind of presented for the last couple of years. It's basically our statistics and expenses, income, and that kind of stuff. I don't know if you guys want to go through it page by page, or if you guys just have any general questions, since you all had a chance to look at it.
We've had an opportunity to look at it. If there's anything that you want to highlight for us, I think, I don't know if the public has necessarily read this report, so there may be some points that you want to highlight so that the public understands what you guys are doing and how important it is.
Yep. You want to talk about the calls, Todd?
So there's been a steady increase in calls every year. I think we're up 8% this year from last year. 792 calls is what we ran. And again, it's all volunteers, so the guys are really putting in some time along with Monday night trainings. And in fact, we have a crew of guys training tonight up in Catasauqua, so it's not just on a Monday night. But the run sheet is in the back there. It'll tell you how many calls we ran of specific types. So I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. Does anybody have any questions?
The only question I have is, when we look at the mutual aid response 2022, there's BC and LC and various numbers that are there, and there are communities next to some. And one that I see is NCF 13 Dewey, that's Hellertown, right?
Right, Northampton County.
Got it.
Yeah.
So Northampton County would call you to go into Hellertown to provide support.
Correct.
And you've provided 103 mutual aid responses to Hellertown.
I know I'm looking at this other picture.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then LC F34, LC would be Lehigh County, right?
Right.
And F34 is Fountain Hill.
Correct.
And you've provided 87 calls of support to Fountain Hill as well.
Right.
So almost 200 of your mutual aid response calls have been to our neighbors.
Correct.
Immediate neighbors.
Yes.
Great, thank you.
Now with the mutual aid to Fountain Hill, some of that for St. Luke's Hospital,
Yes.
and
Yeah, I asked for the numbers from 2017, how many calls you had where you were dispatched to St. Luke's Hospital in Lehigh County in Fountain Hill. How many was that?
87.
87?
Yeah, 87.
87? Okay. So 87 times you went to St. Luke's in Fountain Hill. Have we ever received any donations from St. Luke's?
No.
No.
Never?
No.
Okay. So when a call comes from St. Luke's, I imagine it goes to Fountain Hill first,
Well, it goes to the Lehigh County 911 Center,
right?
and then their center calls our center and dispatches us to give them mutual aid.
Okay. And what about the city of Bethlehem with the paid fire force? Are they called?
Not to my knowledge, no.
And why is that? Can you explain to the people why that?
Generally, the city of Bethlehem doesn't respond outside of the city of Bethlehem unless it's specially requested. We had an incident the other day, we called for an engine from them. But they do not want to be on a structured dispatch, which is an automatic dispatch that we provide the county that, let's say for an automatic fire alarm, you want A, B, and C there. They don't want to be on that type of structured dispatch.
So when St. Luke's calls, it's basically you and Fountain Hill.
Correct.
You know if they donate to Fountain Hill?
I believe they gave money towards the purchase of an engine last year, 2 years ago.
But nothing for us.
No.
Sure. Consider sending them an invoice?
No.
Well, maybe you should.
Yeah, well, we're trying to curve going over there, you know, as much as we do it. We've been pretty successful. If you look at our other reports that we provide, we're down quite a bit on calls that we've done in Fountain Hill.
I wouldn't object to you sending a donation request for $500 every time you go. It would have been an extra $42,000 or $45,000 for you, just for the times you went since 2017. It's a very profitable hospital.
Yeah,
Do you know if they pay property taxes in Fountain Hill?
I don't know for sure.
They don't.
Do you know if they pay property taxes in Fountain Hill?
I don't know for sure.
They don't pay
Yes,
property
would be
taxes.
Hospitals generally don't.
Yeah, they don't, because I'm a resident of Fountain.
Sometimes
and I
they'll
know
do
that they don't pay property taxes.
Right. They
Yeah.
don't. Sometimes they'll do a payment in lieu of taxes, such as possibly purchasing fire truck. But, all right, can we talk about the responders, these great top 15 responders?
Sure. Told you I should have brought my glasses. Yes, the mutual aid responses and top responders. There you go. It's, yeah.
Sorry.
So, some of these top responders here pull double duty. Kyle Myrtle, he's one of our captains. He's also a training officer, so he coordinates all the training along with 3 other members. So they're quite busy just coordinating that. James Rayner, he's also a captain. He's sitting here to my left. He's also our treasurer, which is a full-time job in itself. Scott Crecia, sitting to my right, he's a captain, also the president of the fire company. Eric Bill Mora, he is the deputy chief. Robert Gerhardt, he's the fire police captain. Myself, Ty Johnson, fire chief. Jan Dottie, he's our investigator for the fire department / fire marshal. He's sitting in the back.
Right here.
Oh, right there he is. He was in the back. Dave Kemmer, he's one of our lieutenants. Gail Metzner, she's a firefighter out of our Lightsville station and an EMT. Abby Gress, she's a junior firefighter. Tony Madej, he's one of the battalion chiefs. Jason Mangora, he's a fire police lieutenant. And William Resick is an assistant engineer and also works at our water authority.
And then, I believe that the next, well, first of all, I want to thank those 15 people in particular. I want to thank all 58 of your members that are listed. It was 23 members, but for those 15 in particular, it's outstanding volunteerism for 2022. Thank you very much to all of them. On another page, you have 93% of our members are firefighter 1 certified and 3,680 training hours completed. Can you tell the public how, kind of special that is and what that is?
So, Firefighter 1 certified is a national certification that'll follow you through the country. So if somebody would move from the state of Pennsylvania and moves, to Texas, let's say, that certification would follow them. And a majority of our guys are even Fire 2 certified. So the state does a program that recognizes that, and if you see our trucks, you see a Keystone label on it. We're in the 75 percentile of that. Haven't run the numbers lately, but the last time we did it, there was only like 2,200 or 2,300 fire departments in the state that were at the silver level, which is 75%, which is where we're at. We're on the cusp of having a gold level, which would be 100%. The problem is we have some older members that just don't want to continue the training, which we don't blame them at all for it. So that's where it's holding us back a little bit, or we would be there. So silver it is. So the training that we do, we try to do all pro board certs. Last year, majority of us completed specialized vehicle rescue pro board, which is a pretty big deal. We figured it was a good class to take because of the type of incidents we run on our roads in the township and on the interstate, that we have a national certification of a majority of our members. I mean, we all had specialized vehicle rescue through the state, but we wanted it through that it would follow us through the country.
Well, I think it's great to have silver, and congratulations on that. I think that's great.
And if I could just add to that, the Firefighter 1 certification is important for our response on fire calls, but it's actually important to the state of Pennsylvania, because when we do our fire commissioner's grant every year, they actually only accept members in our organization for that grant that are Firefighter 1 certified. You have to have 25 qualifying Firefighter 1 certified members to get the max amount that we get from the state of Pennsylvania. So we have that covered in our roster, and that's how we're able to get the max amount every year. And then while we're on that topic, since our merger with Steel City is complete, we're going to be able to file for their portion of their grant now for the next 10 years. So there's going to be additional income through that. So just something to add in there.
It also helps with the ISO rating,
Absolutely.
which is a benefit to the taxpayers of the township.
Right. If people remember last year, there was a big concern, or 2 years ago, with the ISO rating, with Steel City not kind of cooperating by providing numbers, and that is what insurance companies use to decide on home insurance rates, fire insurance rates for homes. So you want a high ISO rating, a good ISO rating, and fortunately we have one because of the hard work of Lower Saucon 16 in coming up with the numbers when the Steel City was somewhat negligent in that. And then we get rated again in a couple of years, right? It's every 5 years or so?
Yes, yeah. And we can also contact them and have them make an addendum as we change some things. One of the things we've been working on is that they said would count greatly towards our score is a mandatory training for our fire officers. So we're pretty much doing that now. We just got to reach back out to ISO, see if that's sufficient for them, and then they'll regrade us.
Right, I think, it's good for the public to understand that, supporting the volunteer fire companies is expensive, the equipment's expensive, but it is worth it. You know, if we didn't have a volunteer fire services company or not a good one, or a highly rated one, it would be a tax on every property owner in the township because they would pay much higher insurance rates on their homes. So every property owner would pay more. So that's good. If you guys don't have anything to add, I did want to ask, Jim to go over the income and expenses for 2022 and also talk about the gold transparency certification.
This is, I think, 2 more pages down. Page 11, maybe? Sure. Okay, so this is showing, so every year we do a budget. This is showing our 2022 actuals, where we ended up for the calendar year, and then our budget for 2023. You can see for 2022, income is a little over 1.4 million. A big chunk of that was we did have a couple big grants last year. We made a large radio purchase, so we had a radio grant for $365,000 and change. We also had an air pack grant from FEMA that was over $146,000. Township also contributed some money to help us make those air pack purchases. And then on the expense side, we were at 1.55 million. So pretty much I guess kind of a balanced budget, a little bit overspent, but again, the big parts of that were, again, the radio purchase, which was over $500,000 total, and again, those air packs were the big purchase in there too. And of course, we also appreciate the township continuing to make the payments toward our ladder truck that we purchased a couple years ago. We have a few more years of payments to go on that, but we're making progress thanks to your support. And we did spend a significant amount on truck maintenance as well, just because of all the calls we're running, just expensive to maintain the equipment, keep it running and functioning properly.
Right, so the township allotment of $225,000 is a direct allotment. The apparatus allotment comes from the fire tax, it's for the ladder truck, $134,000. And then the incentive funding is $10,000. And then there was a grant writing.
There was, yeah, the grant writing I think was, I want to say 3,500, is that right, Scott?
I think it's 35 or is it? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's 3,500, so.
And then there was a financial asset transfer from Steel City merger of $168,688.60.
Correct.
When the merger completed, then we transferred that funding into our account, and then the last little bit will come in this year, that's $7,800. Yep.
Great. Well, I'm glad that was a big thing you guys got done last year, and the numbers look great. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I appreciate this page in particular. I mean, what you're doing on the operational side is fantastic, but the financial side, I really appreciate the transparency. You're showing exactly your income levels that are coming in. You're showing us what you're spending, and I see you have this gold transparency designation, which I assume is the highest standard or close to the highest standard. And these things are important because you're receiving taxpayer dollars for a lot of what you do. And I think it's important for the public to know exactly how their money's being spent. And I don't doubt that you guys are spending the money wisely, but it's still nice to see on a piece of paper so we can relate to that if we have questions.
Yeah, exactly. And GuideStar, we do that every year, so that is a separate organization that for any 501c3s, they can get registered with GuideStar, and then there's different levels, like you said. The top level is actually platinum. Maybe we'll get there one day, but for now we're gold, which is second from the top. But we have to go out every year and update information about our financials and answer some different questions about the makeup of our board and things like that. So
is this GuideStar, this is available to any nonprofit organization? They can be certified by GuideStar?
That's correct.
And GuideStar would provide you with guidelines on how to be as transparent as possible to meet their different criteria?
That's correct. And there's also different avenues, like folks that want to donate to nonprofits, some people use GuideStar as a research tool to go research the types of organizations that are out there that they might want to donate to, and then they can use these different levels as an indicator in terms of how well managed the organization is financially.
It's really good to be a gold, at the gold standard, it's really good because, as you know, I wrote grants for a nonprofit and, yeah.
Well, yeah, again, I think
really
that
good.
I think this is something we should look at more closely for any 501c3 that receives taxpayer money. regardless of whatever it is, to make sure that they are Guide Star certified and at least following those protocols, because I think it's really important.
Yep. I agree.
Thank you, Cindy.
And, we've had our first meeting of the subcommittee to talk about putting a 5 to 10 year capital plan together for firehouses and fire apparatus. So we don't really have any report yet. We've only met once so far. We're having another meeting. And so that's something to look forward to. Hopefully something in next year's report regarding that. You guys have anything else?
No, I think we're good again.
I'm looking forward to the outcome of the committee, the meetings that you're currently having, that you'll continue to have. I think it's going to be important for us to have a roadmap going forward so we can do some capital planning and continue to provide support and maintain the quality fire services we have.
Yeah, if you look, I mean, you know, just alone some of these stations, you know, Whitesville was originally built in 1968. It was rebuilt in 2012, obviously. But the CY code, the original fire station was built in 1890. It was added on to in 1932, 1969, 1980, 1991, and 1997. The social hall was added in 1984. The Southeastern Fire Company was built in 1887 and was updated in 1954. The social hall was added in 1971. And then the Steel City was built in 1986, and then a 2-bay pole barn was added in 2018. So you know, we have some old buildings that, you know, have been added on to and that are functional, but you know, we have to come up with a long-term plan for these properties and what fire stations will look like or need to be for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and start planning for that sooner rather than later.
I agree.
Thank you for your volunteerism and all you do for the community. Thank you.
Thank you for your support.
I don't know if you guys want to hang around for the next. Well, the next few items we have coming up here are the fire funding audit, grant writing funding. So, Kathy, you want to let's move on to those, and if we have any questions, maybe we can direct them to you. I don't know if we will.
Sure.
And obviously, if you need to go for family or whatever else.
We're here for this.
Okay. All right. So the next item we have here is there are no developer items. Next are up the township business items, and first item is the 2022 fire funding audit. So, Kathy, you want to talk to that at all? Speak to that at all?
Sure. Mr. Rainier provided me with all the documents I requested. I am charged with auditing the funding that the township provides them on an annual basis. I found no material deficiencies, and they complied with everything on the 501c3 policy.
That's great.
Okay.
Any questions from council?
So therefore, you're recommending we release the funding?
Yes.
I'll make a motion. So I'll make a motion to approve the annual donation to Lower Saucon Fire Rescue for $225,000 and for an additional $10,000 for recruitment and retention.
I'll second.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Ms. Yerger, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Bononis?
Yes.
Mr. Carocci?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much for this.
Thank you, guys.
Grant writing?
Yeah, so the next item we have on the agenda is Lower Saucon Fire Rescue's request for release of grant writing funding. And Mark had provided us with a memo. Lower Saucon Fire Rescue is requesting to reimburse the cost of hiring a grant writer, Firehouse Grants LLC, to file for a grant on their behalf. Funding was budgeted under 02.411.710 fire consultation. And the invoice that we have here from Firehouse Grants, it's invoice 2251 from February 17, 2023, in the amount of $4,500 for the fee for the preparation of fiscal year 2022 fire grant application. So I don't have any questions about it.
I just want to point out, I mean, this grant writing is what you use to get FEMA AirPat grant for $146,104.76 and for a FEMA radio grant for $365,714.28. So we basically got over $500,000 in grants for spending, what are we?
$4,500.
$4,500. And as I said before, we want you to apply for as many grants as possible. And if you run out, 4,500 is not enough, certainly let council know, come back to us mid-year, because, you know, we want to apply for as many grants as possible. It paid us out, $4,500, and we got over $500,000 in grants, so.
Investment.
Yeah, it's a great investment, and if you need more, let us know, but let's start with the 4,500.
Perhaps we could put you on the pension committee if you're getting returns.
Good to me.
So I'll make the motion for the release of the grant writing funding in the amount of $4,500 to firehouse grants.
I'll second.
Ms. Scherger, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Benonis?
Yes.
Mr. Carocci?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
Yes.
Mr. Inglis?
Yes.
Passes.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, I think that completes fire service related items, so you're welcome to hang around, but we'll move on to the other items.
Okay, thanks again.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, you got it.
Thanks.
All right, the next item we have is resolution. The next item we have is Resolution 41, 2023, authorizing the budget adjustments. So Kathy, will you discuss the adjustments?
Certainly. As I brought to council's attention last meeting for the CAPRA report, there was
Then you should be one of the ones.
as I discussed at the last meeting during the CAPRA report, there were certain items that crossed years where council had approved them last year, and we recognize, we'll be recognizing the expenses or have already in 2023. Other items on there were the council approved police officers that we need to amend the budget to add additional funding in the police budget, and also the legal fees that had previously been discussed.
I don't have any questions. Council? Mark, Sandy?
All right, I'll make a motion to,
I'm sorry?
authorize the budget
Go ahead.
adjustments. Well, she's gonna have to speak up, I can't hear her.
Okay, can you hear me?
No.
Yes, you can, because we can.
Mark, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, well, first of all, I would like to support this whole resolution, but unfortunately, I'm outraged at the legal expenses. The first two items for the modified budget at $283,500, and then the special legal at $152,000 as the modified budget. I fully support the expenses and the budget transfers for the full-time officers, their benefits, uniforms, all that stuff, and the vehicles. But I'm disappointed that this is all combined into one because, like I said, when is this going to stop? When is the end with these lawsuits? You know, how much more money are we going to spend? Where are we going? What's the outcome? I have all these questions and no answers.
All right, I made a motion to authorize the
I
budget.
have to ask Link one question. Link, just to be clear here, some of the legal fees that were incurred here, a substantial portion, were related to land development issues over which we have no control as to what comes in the door and what a developer or property owner may ask us to do or not do, correct?
I think maybe some of them are land development issues, but I think a lot of them are right-to-know act requests. We get a large number of right-to-know act requests.
We don't have any control over that.
We don't have any control over that, no.
And we actually respond to others.
Yeah, and in terms of the litigation items, the federal litigation with the Office of Commonwealth Libraries is the only one that Lower Saucon Township initiated. Every other litigation we have came in the door and was filed by somebody else, so.
And we're obligated by law to participate in that litigation because we've either been named as a party in it or the township has an interest in that litigation.
And we attempted to settle the Hellertown Borough Compost Center litigation, and they didn't want to settle it, so.
So we've been sued, and that's why we have legal costs, higher legal costs this year. A lot of Priscilla's friends.
Yes.
So, that's fine.
I'd like to request a breakdown of like all the, or to know, like, break it down by categories to come up with those figures, and the status of the lawsuits.
Good point.
That's a request.
Priscilla, you can call me at any time and ask me about the status of the lawsuits.
I understand that. I'd like it in writing, please.
Well, I mean, if we're complaining about legal fees, you're now going to increase your legal fees by me writing.
Priscilla, he's responding to your questions, so please don't interrupt him. Go ahead and finish, please.
I was done. I said if the complaint is that the legal fees are too high, asking me to spend some time summarizing the lawsuits in writing as opposed to just telling people on the phone what it is more expensive.
And if you're finished, my question would be to Kathy to put it in, and she has to categorize it in the budget format. So I'm asking for that.
Okay, are you done?
Am I done? Well,
Wait, already done.
I'm waiting for my answer. Is that okay? Can she separate it into right to know requests and, whether it was a developer thing or, whatever the lawsuit, but she has to keep track of it in her financing.
Priscilla, why don't you pick up the phone and call her tomorrow or even before this meeting if you have these questions and concerns?
Yeah, you could have had the numbers for tonight.
I mean, you're asking a question. Tom, did you make the motion?
Yes, I know.
I'll second the motion.
Now, just be rude publicly. That's okay, Jason.
I can't hear you.
Yes, you can,
It's
see,
not
we
a
heard.
problem.
I don't know what you're saying, Priscilla.
Yes,
I know
you do.
you don't. You wouldn't understand it anyway.
I can hear just fine.
Go ahead.
All right, Mr. Notice, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Carocci?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
No, and I want the record to reflect my split while I'm voting for
Why, she wants one vote against the police.
Mr. Inglis?
Yes.
Ms. Yerger?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-1.
And just so it's clear, there could have been a motion to separate them out,
That's it.
individual votes, but
There
there was
was
none.
no motion separate.
All right, so we'll now move on. Resolution 42-2023, budget transfer. Kathy, you want to talk about the proposed budget transfers?
Sure. This, again, was brought up at the last meeting during the CAPRA presentation where we had excess revenue over expenditures. We had discussed that we would want $1 million to be transferred to the capital fund for the Steel City Road project and $500,000 to the park capital fund. And the remaining that was left, which was a little over $800,000, would be transferred into the operational reserve, which doesn't require a resolution.
I have no questions or concerns about the transfer. This is something we discussed previously, and this is just formalizing it. So I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 42-2023.
I'll second.
And I have a question.
Go ahead.
I support the paving of Steel City using the amount of money stated. What park fund, what park, Kathy, is it going to?
It says the Park Capital Fund.
I know, well, which park?
The Park Capital Fund, which is the general fund for the park system.
I know, so it doesn't have an identified park, it's just going into the park fund.
That's what it says. You do have a copy of the packet, right?
Okay.
Maybe should have been.
All right, Warren.
Fair.
Mr. Carocci, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon, how do you vote?
No, and I'm splitting my vote because I support the Steel City paving, but I don't support the $500,000, so that's why I'm voting no. And I'd like the record to reflect that, please.
Mr. Ingles?
Yes.
Ms. Yerger?
Yes.
Mr. Bononis?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-1.
And just so it's clear for the record, the allocation of the $1 million is to the capital fund without any specific earmarking to it. And the allocation of the $500,000 to the park capital fund is to the general park capital fund without any allocation to it.
Right, and if, when it comes time for allocation, that will come before council.
That's right.
Thank you.
That's right.
All right.
Council, you vote.
We're going to move on to
That's the police and rebuilding.
item E. This is the Easton Road Ball Field Replacement Project. So, Mark, as I recall, this may have been in December or January, we had authorized township staff to request bids for the Easton Road Ball Field when we got responses back for some state grants that were pending. And we expected that we would have received those grants perhaps January or February, but we still have not received that response, and there's no indication as to when any response may be forthcoming.
Correct.
So, since it seems like we don't have it, I don't think there's anything that prevents us from sending this out for bid to continue to move the project along. If the grant money comes in, we can apply that grant money to the project when it arrives, correct?
I don't want to say yes, we'll look into that. We'll make sure with the grant.
I would say, Mark, that there's different stipulations for different grants. You might not be able to start the project, so I would.
Yeah, we definitely can't start the project until we have the grant money. I have to just do a quick review to see when we can go out to bid. You can authorize us to go out to bid once we determine that. Brian and I think will make sure that we determine that before we move the grant forward, the bid process forward.
Yeah, I mean, this is something we've been talking about for over 2 years, and, I don't want it to be another project that stalls. I'd like to continue to move it forward, so unless any questions or comments from anybody
Well,
on
again,
council?
as long as Mark, trust Mark to wait for
Yeah.
the bid process, and as long as that is the stipulation within this, then I'm fine with it.
Yeah,
And I know you will be too, you know how the grants work, so they've been doing this for years.
yeah, so I'll make a motion to approve the advertising and putting the Easton Road Ball Field Replacement Project out to bid when Mark confirms that we can send it out to bid and not affect
As for
the pending grants. And again, if we can send it out to bid and get the bids in, we at least have something to work with, and maybe in the meantime, the grants come in, and then we're ready to move forward with it.
I'll second.
All right, thanks, Mark.
Ms. DeLeon, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Ingles?
Yes.
Ms. Yerger?
Yes.
Mr. Benonis?
Yes.
Mr. Carocci?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, next item is the Saucon Valley Community Center Summer Recreational Program Agreement. The agreement for the Saucon Valley Community Center's 2023 Summer Recreation Program has been prepared for council review and approval. The program is structured similarly to previous years and maintains the nominal fee of $10 for one child and $5 for each additional child. This year, Steel City Park has been added to the program. I remember that Donna Louder had requested that. We appreciate her efforts in that regard. I don't have any questions about the agreement. This looks like a standard agreement that we've had from past years. Unless there's any questions or comments from council, I'll make a motion to approve the execution of the 2023 Summer Recreational Program Agreement not to exceed $31,116.
I'll second it.
Mr. Ingles, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Yerger, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Benonis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Carocci, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon, how do you vote?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, the next item is the EAC Backyard Composting Workshop Resident Reimbursement. The EAC will be hosting a backyard composting workshop on Saturday, June 3, 2023 at 11 a.m. There will be a $70 cost to residents. The EAC is asking council to consider subsidizing a portion of the fee for township residents. The workshop will be open to the first 25 people who register. The workshop will be held at Lower Saucon Town Hall. So up for discussion is considering subsidizing a portion of the fee for township residents. I think it may be appropriate to subsidize $50 of that fee. We require individuals to pay a portion for library services. We require residents to pay a portion for for a public pool. And we also require residents to pay a portion for the summer recreational program. And I don't think $20 per resident is too onerous for people that may be interested in learning about backyard composting. If anyone feels differently, feel free.
I'm fine with it. I just want to make clear that the workshop is open to the public, but the reimbursement will only go to township residents. There'll be a verification of township residents. That if there's a non-township resident that comes in, we're not going to subsidize that. They're going to pay $70 if they're one of the first 25.
I completely agree.
So I think the way it's going to work is they will pay the full amount because they're going to register with another company to do the program. And then once they come to the program and they attend, then we will have a form for them to fill out for the reimbursement if it passes of $50 per township resident.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Mark, that they have to actually attend the program. We're not just going to pay for people to sign up and not show up for it.
That's right. That's right. And sorry to give you more work, Kathy, we might have to write up to 25 checks for reimbursement. I'm sure it will not be that many as far as actual township residents. But yeah, I think, what is that, $1,500?
Yeah.
Total, 20, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 1250.
So I'll make a motion for the township to subsidize the cost for Lower Saucon Township residents to participate in the backyard composting workshop on Saturday, June 3rd, in the amount of $50. The remaining balance would be owed by the resident. The resident would have to pay the full $70 up front and then come back to the township for reimbursement. They would receive a maximum reimbursement of $50 upon proof that they've completed the program.
Yes.
And that number shall not exceed, what's the number, Tom?
Well, it's 1,250 is 50 times 25.
So not to exceed $1,250 total reimbursement. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you.
Ms. Yerger, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Benonis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Carocci, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Inglis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, the next item on the agenda is the Wagner Holland Farmstead Historic Sign. Council will consider a request to add a historic sign marker for the Wagner Holland Farmstead, which was added to the list of the National Register of Historic Places on July 23, 2020.
Yeah, we had a request from Mr. Holland to do a sign like we've done in the past. We had one at Earnhardt's Mill District. We also had one at the Meadows Bridge at one time. We put together a brief summary to go on the sign. The Wagner Holland Farmstead was the first private residence in the Lower Saucon Township to be accepted on the National Register of Historic Places, and it's one of only 17 farmsteads listed in the state. The property was owned by an affluent family, the Wagners, until 1971. The Wagners were successful German farmers and prosperous entrepreneurs, owning a limestone quarry, a grist mill, and a threshing operation. The farmstead is an excellent example of Germanic farm that existed in our area, the Great Valley agricultural region. The property currently owned by the Holmes consists of an early Victorian period brick house. The property's centerpiece is a large stone barn built in 1849. 6 smaller outbuildings adorn the picturesque property, complete with a stone spring house. We're going to put a QR code on the sign to link to our website for additional information. As I spoke with Mr. Holm, he gave me quite a long write-up that I tried to summarize with the paragraph that I just said. He has seen this and he was okay with it, and he likes the idea of a QR code. And then we will also put the date that it was listed, July 23rd, 2020 on the sign, as we did with the other signs.
First of all, Mark, I want to thank you for working with Jerry Hall.
Priscilla Sandy was talking. Hold
I'm
on.
sorry, I didn't realize she was
Priscilla.
talking. I just wanted to thank you, Mark, for working with Jerry Hall and to work up this sign. It's a beautiful farm. It's an integral historic piece in our township, so I thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Mark, when you talk with Jerry, his farm is really a treasure. When
It
you're
is.
when you're on the
It's
rail
beautiful.
trail, it's just a beautiful,
Yeah.
open property,
And-
and he's really done a remarkable job preserving it.
Yeah.
Okay, Priscilla.
Okay, sorry, I was making a motion to approve the purchase of a sign for the Wagner Hall on Farmstead in the amount of $1,675.
Second, Henry.
I'll second it, yeah, I'm sorry. We were looking at the picture.
Mr. Benonis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Carocci?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
Yes.
Mr. Ingles?
Yes.
Ms. Yerger?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, so the next item we have is a letter of support for Upper Saucon grant submission to install a bridge over Preston Lane. Upper Saucon Township, go ahead, Mark.
We received a request from Upper Saucon Township to support their grant, DCNR grant, to install a bridge over Preston Lane, since there's a break in the Saucon Valley Rail Trail at that point. So they're looking for us to support their grant application to install the bridge to get rid of the break in the trail.
I think this is really great. This was part of what we did for Bethlehem a couple meetings ago. So I totally support this letter.
Yeah, it's a really pretty section of the trail, so this will be a real positive for residents of both municipalities. I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Carocci, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Ingles, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Yerger, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Benonis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, next are the miscellaneous business items. First is the approval of the March 22, 2023 council minutes. I'll make a motion to approve the March 22, 2023 council minutes.
I'll second.
Ms. DeLeon, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Ingles?
Yes.
Ms. Yerger?
Yes.
Mr. Benonis?
Yes.
Mr. Carocci?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, next we have the approval of the March 2023 financial reports. I don't have any questions unless anyone else on council does. I'll make a motion to approve the financials for March 2023.
I'll second.
Mr. Ingles, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Yerger?
Yes.
Mr. Benonis?
Yes.
Mr. Carocci?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, we are now at council and staff reports. Mark, do you have any reports for us?
Yes, the township staff and the Saucon Valley Conservancy met with a mason to discuss the orange stone arch and wall at the Heller Homestead. We are waiting on a quote for those repairs. The landfill committee meeting that was scheduled for tomorrow, April 20th, has been rescheduled to Thursday, April 27th at 1 p.m. The Lower Saucon Township is joining with Upper Saucon Township to host 2 electronic recycling events this year. The first will be held on Saturday, April 22nd, in Upper Saucon Township at Hopewell Park, 4695 West Hopewell Road, Center Valley, PA, 18034. I think that's right next to Hopewell Elementary School. The township had 2 bids out. We had a bid out for the Heller Homestead windows restoration. We did not receive a bid for that. The township is going to put that bid back out immediately on the street. We also had a bid out for the Reading culvert. The township also did not receive a bid for that project. That's a concrete culvert to be produced. Just letting everyone know, please be advised that the PA Department of Environmental Protection will be using a helicopter to spray for black flies along the Lehigh River tomorrow, April 20th. They're actually going to start on the Delaware and then they're going to work their way up into Allentown. So if you see a helicopter flying, spraying stuff, that is what is happening. That's the PA Department of Environmental Protection. And then also the yard waste collection facility on Polk Valley Road will open on Friday from 9 to 1, and then we will also be open on Saturday from 9 to 1. That's all I have.
All right, junior council member?
Can you hear me?
Sure.
So, Saucon Valley's Mini Time Club is going to be holding a fundraiser at the Inside Scoop to help combat pediatric cancer. The event's going to take place on the 27th from 6 to 9 p.m. and 10% of the proceeds are going to go to the $30,000 goal at the end of the year to get help fighting pediatric cancer.
I'm sorry, what's the date and time?
April 27th from 6 to 9 p.m.
Okay, great. It's wonderful, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, council reports, Mark.
Just a couple laundry items. We have a rail trail meeting on Monday down at Coopersburg. If anybody has any comments or thoughts about the rail trail or wants to interject anything. They're usually pretty productive meetings. We have a good crew there that runs that committee. They're energetic. And it usually goes pretty productively. We have a Parks and Rec meeting on May 1st, and I was asked yesterday about pickleball courts, and we have been negotiating, or talking about that, I should say, for the last 3 meetings. We're trying to find a place to put them. And we have a couple options, so we're just trying to dial that down a little bit. So we have discussed pickleball courts. And I spoke to Mark Hudson about possibly looking into cutting down the outfield fence at the Steel City baseball field. We don't want to remove it, we just want to make it lower because we feel it's too high and it just looks like a prison down there. So we're talking about options as to what we can do with that. And we want to plant some more shrubs and trees just to make it more park-like rather than prison-like. So that's in the works, but most of that we're looking at doing in the fall most likely. But we started the process now. Mark mentioned the Heller Homestead. I was there when we met with the Mason, and we're looking at a couple options with that, whether we knock the grade down in the back and just make some 3-foot knee walls and do some seating, some sodding or something in the courtyard area to make it a nice place for pictures, and just, we want to try to remove the fence is what our goal is. How can we stabilize the Heller Homestead to keep its integrity and also make it available to the public to get in and get around. So that's our goal with that, and at least we got the ball rolling on that. The Township Works guys did a great job cleaning up the inside there, so now we can see what we have. So that's good. And then I attended the library meeting last night down at Southern Lehigh, and basically a couple bullet points from that was, I believe they turned down our offer. It got a little weird at times. A lot of discussions went on for a long time. We had a couple residents go down and speak, and they were very respectful, which was nice to see. Let's see, and learned a couple of facts came out during the meeting that it's not a problem to cross over county lines, because as of right now, Southern Lehigh is in a partnership with Lehigh and also Carbon County. And they did mention the library system that we have out west that Link brought up at one point, which
The Northfield
includes,
system,
excuse me?
the Northland or Northfield system.
It's the one Link around Erie that includes 4 counties, I believe. And that's considered a model that actually works very, very well, which is some of the things that we've talked about in the past. And Candy Cruz, the library president, brought up an option of regionalizing all the local libraries to get together and have one big library system, realizing that as of now, the small library model is not doing well. We basically have Southern Lehigh libraries not doing very well financially, and neither is the Hellertown Library. So she realized or recognized that a regional library setup might be an option to look into. Unfortunately, she got voted down, but regardless, it was at least brought up in conversation. And I believe they eventually, I think it was in the paper this afternoon or it will be in tomorrow morning, they eventually decided to have a public hearing with all their funding partners to discuss what they want. Because it's believed that 3 of the 4 funding partners wanted to accept our offer, and Coopersburg, I wasn't sure where they stood based on what was said. But the library board wanted to have a hearing to discuss everything in public and talk about some of the options. That's pretty much what I took out of the meeting last night. There was a lot of other things going on, but I think those are pretty much the bullet points. And we did learn also from Mark Sullivan, the library rep, that the OCL is it's very hard to get answers from them. Their rules are not very clear on a lot of items. He wavered back and forth on a lot of things. And he tried to give an honest opinion, but I'm not sure he was able to give an honest opinion because I don't really think he knew. And I think some of us that were there last night probably would agree with that statement. So that's pretty much where I think the library came in last night, and that's pretty much what I have.
Thanks, Mark. Just on that regional library concept, that was something that we specifically discussed with Hellertown in a meeting with Hellertown Borough Council President Tom Rieger, Hellertown Mayor Heinzelman, when Jen Zbacki was on council. This is going back almost 2 years. And they were not in favor of that model and concept. So I'm just sharing that with you based upon, just to share some historical information. Perhaps their position changed over time, I don't know.
According to Candy last night, they were willing to talk about it.
Okay.
That's what she said, so.
Well, that's progress.
It was progress, I thought.
I guess they have some awareness, which is great. Is that it, Mark?
Yes.
Okay. Sandy?
Yeah, I just have a quick question for Mark, which I didn't remember to ask you when that item came up on the agenda. As far as the placement of the sign, it would be nice if you could work with the property owner as far as the historic sign for the farm, that they can see it from the rail trail.
Yeah, I think that's where he wants it. We
good.
have had,
Okay.
I didn't bring those with me, but we have had emails discussing that.
Okay, good.
And once we get the sign.
Because if it goes on the road, they really won't see it.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
and I think that's a really good education piece.
If my memory serves me correctly, he did want it on the rail trail.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. That's all I have.
I just have a few items. We received notification from DEP that they approved the landfill's air quality program plan, which is significant and provides some additional reassurances and protections in terms of air quality. The other letter that we received, which is a very significant letter, is that DEP approved the major permit modification for the northern realignment. So that northern realignment has been approved, and the financial ramifications of that to the township are significant. As everybody knows, the township receives millions of dollars every year, and if the landfill is going to remain open for another 4 or 5 years, as I recall, based upon that northern realignment, that's an additional 8 to 10 or more $1 million that will be coming to the township in post-municipal fees. So that's certainly important for us as a township to maintain a sound financial position going forward. We also received from Hanover Engineering their inspection report from April 18, 2023. The host engineer went out and took a look, and there were no glaring problems that were in that report, as it was consistent with past reports. So that's all that I have. Priscilla?
Yes, I was also at the Southern Lehigh Public Library meeting last night. It was a very long meeting, back and forth on a lot of things. No decision, like Mark said, despite the May 4th deadline, but I did learn more and more about how a library is supposed to operate in Pennsylvania. And it's funny how I learned all that stuff outside of council, but it's a very complicated and intertwined process. And I want to publicly thank the SLPL board for their review and patience during the meeting, and although I still am not in support of the request. But moving on into Greater Lehigh Valley Chamber of Commerce on April 19th, April 20th, I'm sorry, tonight's date. At the April 26th at 5:30, the Greater Lehigh Valley Chamber of Commerce is holding a get down and derby with the affiliated chambers. So that's an event you can sign up for. On April 28th at 9 a.m., the local chamber, Hellertown Lower Saucon Chamber, is holding a celebration in honor of the 200th anniversary of the Hellertown Post Office. And like I said, that's at 9 a.m. Refreshments will be served after the ribbon cutting. So we should all try to support the local post office. May 2nd at 5 p.m., there's going to be a memorial bench dedication for the Kaufman family sisters who unfortunately passed in that fire. They're having that on May 2nd. And there's also on May 24th, an Honors in Hors d'oeuvres event, which is a fundraiser for the scholarship fund, and that's going to be at Dimick Park. And that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Tom.
Yes. There's some crazy library numbers floating out there from the Hellertown Library, which we're used to dishonest information from them. But basically, the township has made 219 reimbursements for a total of $7,420. That's 152 family memberships for the Hellertown Library and 67 individual reimbursements. 67 individual reimbursements for $1,340 and 152 family memberships for $6,080.
Tom, what's the total dollar amount again?
$7,420. So if we would have funded them at their take it or leave it offer in December of 2021, that would have been $502.28 per card, per membership card. $502.28. So we paid a total of $7,420 in reimbursements. The reason why people are saying $600 or $700 is that we got word that all children are being offered cards, which is fine, but they're not separately reimbursed. In fact, children older than 6 months old are being offered cards so they can get the numbers that they're promoting publicly. So children under 18 aren't allowed to sign contracts to basically agree to pay late fees on books or anything like that, but it's good that at least teenagers have library cards and younger. So, but I guess 7 months old is not too early when we're trying to pump up numbers and be dishonest with the public. All right, now, also residents received in the mail, BethlehemLandfill.com/facts. So anybody's looking for, some information on the landfill, I would look at that, look at all the sources, but this is definitely one source. They provide $2 million in host fee payments to the township, funding 25% of the township budget.
Right.
Over $100,000 in local giving to students and community organizations. They have a strong environmental track record as the DEP just approved their, what is it called, realignment, right?
Right.
So we got DEP approval for a realignment. I don't think anybody with a bad environmental track record would have got DEP approval. That's their main regulator, Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection. They don't take hazardous waste, it's forbidden. And they're saying that if there is any proposed expansion, there'll be no increase in traffic and no increase in the days or hours of operation. And no change to the entrance of the facility, it's still the entrance of the facility. So people should be able to, just another resource for people making their decision on the landfill. EAC met, and they'll be glad that the $50 reimbursement is forthcoming. And the planning meeting was canceled this month for lack of business. There was just no business. That's all I have.
Great, thank you, Tom. All right, I think that concludes the council part of the meeting. So now we're at the council meeting non-agenda items. Again, it's a 3-minute time limit pursuant to the instructions that are provided at the beginning. First name we have is Anne Marie Crown.
My comments about the landfill.
You just identify yourself.
Oh,
for the
yes,
record,
Anne
please.
Marie Crown. And my comments reflect being at the hearing today when the district manager of the landfill testified. The About page of BLC's website mentions serving 5 Pennsylvania counties. It does not disclose anything about the number of trash trucks that come in from New Jersey. The About page also mentions, quote, disposal for residential, commercial construction, and demolition waste. You go to the facts page, and there it says, quote, our permit only allows us to accept household and commercial waste. So which is it? Does BLC accept demolition waste now or in the past? And what's in that waste? BLC did indeed send us this direct mail piece, which is much like their fact page on the website. For groundwater safety, it mentions 29 individual monitoring wells. It does not disclose anything about the 10 abatement wells that they had to build because of water quality deficiency in the unlined area that goes back to 1940. Neither on the website or the direct mail piece do they ever mention odor, litter, a muddy roadway, noise, the number of trash trucks per day, the 1,600 tons of trash per day, or some types of radioactive material that they have accepted and reported to DEP. From their homepage, quote, at Bethlehem Landfill, we believe in building a better tomorrow. Well, this tomorrow started about 1940 when Bethlehem used it as a dump. Present day, residents believe the existing landfill would close in the next several years. Let's assume a 2030 closing. We still have 30 more years to go of off-gas and decomposition. So that takes us out to 2060. The proposed expansion site has an estimated disposal lifetime of 30 years and another 30 years of decomp and off-gas. So assuming the expansion would go forward in 2030, add another 60 years onto that, we are practically in the next century. So for Lower Saucon Township's part of this, I regard it as quite a legacy of doubt for a township billing itself on its own website with a video and these words.
Ma'am,
Quote, yes.
you've hit the 3-minute time limit, so you need to wrap up this thought, okay? Thank you. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, next is Bob Blasco. Bob Blasco.
First off, Bob Blasco, 2510 Reddington Road. First off, I have noticed that when somebody stands here and compliments you and flatters your ego, you let them go an additional 2 minutes. If somebody has anything to say poorly about you or contest you, immediately at 3 minutes, you tell us to sit down. I have noticed that. I wasn't going to speak after speaking at a turn earlier. I do apologize for that because I thought I was in turn. Now you've really kind of ticked me off with some of this stuff. Last committee meeting, Mr. Bononis, you made sure you asked Mr. Treadwell if there was not a township, borough, etc. in Pennsylvania that had been sued for not having enough LM zoning to justify the changes in the zoning of 3 areas of our township. Does anyone in this courtroom believe that you are afraid or shy of lawsuits? I don't think so. At the procedural hearing on Monday, Mr. Treadwell told the judge that if you watched the meeting videos, you would see people cursing and some even crying. Yes, Mr. Treadwell, some have cursed. Perhaps that's not allowed in meeting protocol. But if those attending these meetings were trying to shove a landfill up your side of the township, you'd probably curse too. As far as crying is concerned, for you to use it in court in the manner that you did was, in my humble opinion, an obscenity in itself. And I dropped my respect for you a notch or two at that point. At today's hearing, Astor Lawson, the supervisor for the landfill, was asked by Attorney Garber if any citizens of Lower Saucon attended landfill committee meetings. I didn't even know there was such a meeting. They are quarterly. However, the implication was that because of inattendance, no one cared. Why would someone attend such a quarterly meeting when council will not listen to, will not respond positively to the request at a full monthly council meeting and act accordingly to what the citizens want? Why would attending 100 meetings change council's mind? Will 1,000 people attending meetings change council's minds? Not by the record that we've witnessed. And why is Hellertown suing us? They must have a good reason, especially after such a good, long-standing relationship in the past. And if it is because of something that we did or didn't do that we were supposed to or not supposed to do, you can say that that money is going out because they sued us, when in actuality, if it's something because we did or didn't do that we were supposed to or not supposed to do, Lower Saucon Township did indeed induce that lawsuit. Mr. Carocci just sat there and said they don't accept any hazardous waste. Today,
Mr. Blasco.
the supervisor for the landfill said they accept
Mr.
radioactive
Blasco, you hit your
waste.
3-minute time limit, thank you.
Yes, I know it's 3 minutes
For
exactly.
clarification,
Thank you for the additional
Mark
two.
Hudson, the landfill meetings are on the website, anybody would know, on the township website.
They are on the website, they're on the calendar.
So
And tomorrow's
anybody who check the website would know when they are, what time.
They're also on every agenda that we have
Yes.
too.
I didn't say they weren't. I said that I didn't know that there was something. You're gonna sit there and make comments afterwards.
Really? Where's the police, really?
I sent them away.
You're the one who needs to be arrested.
You'll have your opportunity to speak, Mr. Rosenek. Okay? All right, next is Joellen Thompson.
Oh, shit.
Hello, my name is Joellen Thompson, and I've been a resident of Lower Saucon for over 40 years. I have attended these meetings for over the past year and a half and commented at many of these meetings. When I've spoken, I've always tried to base my opinions on verifiable facts and not take things out of context or misrepresent anything. I've always been proud of what I have said and what I've tried to do. I'm a graduate of the University of Pennsylvania School of Allied Medical Professions and have been a physical therapist for over 40 years. I've been part of a national organization and been members of national boards of the American Physical Therapy Association Hospice and Palliative Care Section. I've lectured locally and nationally. But despite these accomplishments, I am most proud of my job as a parent of 3 children who are all graduates of the Saucon Valley High School, for they are part of the future of our world. My husband and I have always tried to teach them by examples, being good citizens and volunteering in our community and church to make things the best they can be. We have tried to treat all people with respect and be considerate of their needs. We have tried to work for the betterment of our community and acting in a manner that we could always be proud of and that our children would always be proud of. I've witnessed all the disruption that the majority of this council has caused and the exorbitant legal fees that have been incurred regarding issues that the residents of Lower Saucon do not support, among other things. Although you may all consider yourselves successful in your individual professions and your jobs as council members, I wonder how you can justify your actions to your children and if they are proud of you, and how you continue to divide the Lower Saucon community.
Thank you. Next is Andrea Witchen.
Yes, I noticed that we have a YouTube channel that is live streaming the meeting tonight. Now, my question is, how long will it be before you turn that into a two-way channel, which is in fact what the residents have requested, so that the people who are watching can also participate in the meeting. So do we have a time frame for that? Do we know when we're planning on doing that? Crickets. That's what I expected. I work with at least 4 municipalities in Chester County. Not one of them is nearly as large as this municipality. They are working together on clean energy transition plans for each of their townships, something this township has never even considered trying to do. But every single one of those 4 municipalities where I have been in meetings has two-way communication of their council meetings. They don't have anywhere near our budget, they don't have anywhere near our population, but they've got two-way council meeting communication, and we in fact use it for meetings that are not council meetings as well, when we have people who can't attend in person. So, since apparently there's no answer to the question as when this will become a two-way communication channel, I'd just like to say that I would point out that you have now spent $40,000 to provide the same service that Mark and I have been providing for free for the last 16 months. I'll bet you we would have done it for 20.
Thank you. Next is Laura Ray.
Laura Ray. Well, first I'll start off with the silly number check here on the library cards. If we look at the Southern Lehigh library cards of all time, there were only 97, so if you do the $75,000 a year number on that, that's $773 a card. And if you look at $100,000 a year, if you divide up our extra bonus, that's over $1,030 per card. So there's some silly math. What I really wanted to talk about though was our EAC meeting that was last week, the egregious behavior that we had to experience. First of all, one of the first items that we jumped into on our agenda was to recommend an appointment to an open space committee with absolutely no explanation as to what that was or why it was on the agenda or why would we be doing this. Most of the people in EAC don't come to these meetings, so they have no idea what discussions went on here and why, and there's still really no good reason, but considering that we have our own open space subcommittee in EAC for many years, most of our members weren't aware of what this was and the plan for the current subcommittee. That was not explained at all. We were right away having a recommendation and asked to be voting. We eventually did vote, and we recommended Drew Germanowski to be on this new open space committee, and we did pass that vote. However, as soon as the voting was done, we were all chastised for the voting that we did. Drew has been on that subcommittee for years. He understands the process, and he's helped train our newer members on how to do that. It's not something that you just know how to do. Look at a piece of paper and you're gonna check off a box and you're doing evaluations properly. So being berated for how we all voted was very upsetting to a lot of our members. There was a lot of very upset people after that. And that's not the way to treat your board volunteers. And this was not the first time that this has happened. So in a democracy, you're allowed to vote how you feel, and that's what we did. And we were also told that we do not follow Robert's Rules of Order in EAC. I have no idea why that would be. It doesn't make any sense. It's made for some awful voting experiences.
Thank you. See, I just want to clarify, you were the founding member of the EAC, correct?
Yes.
And they cast you aside as being the chair of the EAC, correct?
That's where we're at.
Well,
That is
if you,
not how it happened.
as far as open space is concerned, you've donated your conservation open
Yes.
space.
Yes.
You never took a dime.
No.
The woman that just spoke, Ms. Wright, took $200,000 in taxpayer money for her property, is that correct? Is that correct, Kathy?
I'm not on the.
I took 400 for mine.
Yeah, good, okay. All right, thank you.
All right, so next is Marco Zimic. Marco Zimic.
Maybe a little fouling off the wall, but just in case you're not aware of it, Mr. William Dew is buried over in the Hellertown Cemetery. My name ain't Billy, but you keep calling me that and having fun. So, as far as the library, I couldn't find one person that liked any of you for all the actions you're doing. And as far as your numbers you sent them, they did the math there last night, which Mark was there for and he forgot to tell you, or deliberately didn't tell you in public. But they figure you're off about $500,000 with what the president said, whatever her name is, as she sat there and did it. It's all recorded down there too, just in case you want to see it. And as far as the landfill, just close it. Let it live out its 5 or 6 years and close it. As a matter of fact, there's been articles in the newspaper. There's one out today on air quality for Lehigh Valley. There's one out last week for the Lehigh River, which came in number 7 in the worst rivers in the United States. So, what does our council do? They just agreed to keep dumping more crap. And the big mistake I made was when it rained like hell the other day, I forgot to go do my travels and check all the drains and the other things that go on and drive into the landfill and find out how much is actually really leaking. Dash cams make a wonderful story. But other than that, I can't top these people. Bob, you did great. Mr. Blasco, you earned my respect again. As far as the others, you did as well. I'm just at a point where I don't know what to say anymore. It's you know, it's just ridiculous. I hope you're proud of yourself. And like somebody said about kids, I don't know, I hope they understand or grow up to be better stewards of the world than what we're seeing here.
Okay, thank you. Next is Ginger Petrie.
Ginger Petrie, 2626 Reddington Road. Thank you for letting me speak for 3 minutes. I noticed that none of you except one council member have popped in to listen to the conditional use hearings that have been going on for the last 2 months. I'm a little surprised at this, since you would be hearing about how wonderful the landfill is. Well, if you want to catch up a little, the environmental experts are about to present starting May 9th. This council decision to move the landfill forward has had a substantial impact on our lives. There are countless residents fighting for the environment, trees, animals, water, and the ability to keep our township beautiful. There's an issue which has a huge impact on all of our lives, and that's property value. Your decision, council, shows a total disregard for people's property values on the north side of the township. If this landfill wanted to be in your neighborhood, you wouldn't allow it. You were elected to protect and help your township better itself. Citizens used to be proud of the township's beauty. That's why people moved here. As an example, there's a beautiful development coming by the golf course. Homes are selling before it's built. Guess what, boys and girls? If the landfill expansion comes, those people are going to smell it. So the new adventure is now an open space committee. Was there anything wrong with the old one? Why bother? Obviously, you don't care about ruining prime, untouched forest land, so why waste your time getting new open space participants? Many of your citizens are giving their time and money to protect beautiful land here that you are very eager to turn into a dump. I'm sure you need this new committee to help establish a price when the dump wants out of the easement that's on 275 acres of land. I am the largest piece of open space in the township the last time I checked. If the landfill gets rid and out of their easements, and the dump is definitely coming, I am considering I'm getting my piece as number 2 of getting out. You won't have bragging rights about protecting property because there aren't any. My buyback should be cheap because you're planning on ruining my property value. You are costing me my life's work. And yes, those of us that will be ruined by the dump expansion are taking it personally. I have a great concept to share with you. Maybe take the $8 million of taxpayer money in the open space account and buy the land that cost the dump only $10,000. Stop the ugly, embarrassing landfill and turn it into Proving Ground Park. Make the biggest park in Pennsylvania instead of the biggest dump. Then you would be heroes instead of villains.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to switch gears up a little bit here. A couple of you may have already heard coming through the municipality building, but I'm looking to hold an event. It's a community-wide scavenger hunt. It's going to be it's going to include Hellertown, Lower Saucon, if you guys allow it, and a little bit of Upper Saucon. And basically, it's a free event for any participants. It's free to any businesses that want to be involved. And someone could join me in an app called Social Scavenger. And basically what it involves is individuals can go throughout the community, promote the local parks, promote the local businesses. I was working with the Lower Saucon Historical Society. I'm working with them for a video also as well, but they've been giving me some trivia to add to it as well. I'm looking to hold this on May 6th through the 12th. It's a week-long event. I would be hosting it. There will be, I'm letting everyone know, there will be a $1,000 cash prize for the first place winner. It's based on a points system. I would be hosting and monitoring the event, and that's really all the details about it. If you have questions or want to discuss about it further, feel free. It is already approved through Hellertown. I have a lot of businesses that do want to be involved, and I'd be happy to have Lower Saucon be part of it as well. Just looking to have a fun event with it.
Mark, have you received a special event permit application for this?
No. Not yet. He did, he sent something to Jim. Jim and I talked today. I was just a bit behind. I can forward you the letter that he sent to the board.
Yeah, I believe I sent
We're
it.
not going to have, we won't have a council meeting before, what was it, May 6th?
Yeah, so I sent a proposal right before the last month's council event, but I know you guys are backed up, so I assume it just got lost in the transition. I haven't been following up for the past month. I was told to come in and do a public come in on public comments today.
Which one did you do that?
Jim.
What would you need from us? What are you asking for?
Permission, because it would involve the local parks. It would involve individual, like my main concern is any businesses involved, and I've told any business involved that I will post their business hours. I will do everything I can to make sure that no one goes on their property during, but it's a 24-hour event for a week. And it's time stamped and it's GPS enabled, so I could monitor everything that happens if something were to happen. But I wanted to make sure the police were aware. I wanted to make sure the local, everybody was, I wanted to make sure it was above board.
Do you have insurance?
For the event, no, I do not.
And that's one of the things that we require is insurance, and the township would need to be named as an additional insured on that insurance policy in case something happens on township-owned property. For us to give you permission to have a private organization conducting something on our property, not having insurance for that. Is that right, Lincoln?
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the special event program.
Right. So I think at a minimum, you would have to have insurance in place and name the township as an additional insured on that insurance policy. The other question I have is there a fee that you charge for participants in this program?
No, it's free to everyone involved. The other thing is, it's also going, so $1,000 is also going to a local CHIP foundation, it's the Cassidon Foundation, who they donate to a local children's charity every year. So basically, $1,000 to the winner, $1,000 to the local foundation, as well as the option for anyone that's participating to donate as well.
And the other concern I have is that our parks, to the extent any of our public parks or historical properties are going to be used for this, those are open to the public only from dawn to dusk.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that creates an issue for law enforcement. If there's a report of an incident that occurs in one of these spaces and law enforcement has to go there, they're not going to know whether the person is a participant in your scavenger hunt or not. And I understand that you may advertise that it's only for business hours, that the businesses are open, but it seems like you can't prevent people from going. And I think it's a great idea to have this. I just think we're maybe a little bit behind the 8 ball here because today's the 19th,
Yeah, no,
it's less than 3 weeks away.
All right, I mean, my recommendation would just be to, fill out the permit, and if the township, if it meets all the requirements, we'll leave it up to Mark.
I agree.
Meets all the requirements, then if Mark decides it meets all the requirements and there's no township risk and link for township risk, then fine. If not, then no. I mean,
Right.
Link's the expert on the legal risk to the township, and Mark knows the permitting process that the township has in place, and I think we need to delegate this to them.
I commend you for putting this together. The concept of it sounds great, but as they say, the devil's in the details. And, obviously there's some details that need to be worked out here. So I would encourage you to be in communication with Mark and go through that process.
Okay, well, I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thanks for doing it. Thanks for doing something community-based.
I'll just be upfront with you guys. I'm going to hold the event May 6th to the 12th. I just won't, I don't have time to include Lower Saucon at this point, but for next year, I will make sure I'll get in communication in January.
Yeah.
Great.
That's great. Thank
But
you.
I appreciate it, though. Thank you.
And good luck this year.
Thank you.
All right, I think that concludes the non-agenda. We have some others that haven't signed up. Go ahead.
My name is Kathy Pitchell McGovern, and then on 4260 Lower Saucon Road, Heller Town. Mr. Inglis, I did not hear what you heard last night at the library. What I heard is different than what you heard. Additionally, last council meeting, you asked Mr. Benonis how many people are affected with the Easton Road warehouse, with the light manufacturing. Excuse me. Light manufacturing rezoning, and Mr. Benonis said, I don't know. It's right there in your own ordinance. There's 49 properties. There's 49 homes on Easton Road. You have 49 families that you've disrupted with that decision. There's 127 properties in your general business rezoning. So you put that together, it's 176 homes. Plus the 500 plus or minus people from Steel City. Plus there's about 3,000 or so was Lower Saucon Township residents at the library. So that's 3,776, just so you know. It's in your own numbers. Also...
Ma'am, to be clear, those are not our numbers. The 3,000 users of Heller Town Library is not our numbers. Those aren't our numbers because it's not our library.
That is correct.
Yeah. You can keep
And
going.
also, Resolution 31, 2023, the one you just read to us. Number 20, at all times, each attendee at a council meeting shall respect the point of view of others. No comment disagreeing with another's point of view shall involve a personal attack on the characters of others with a different viewpoint. Tonight with Priscilla DeLeon, I heard, quote, maybe you should read. I heard, quote, maybe you should be here. I heard, quote, can't read my writing, sorry. Oh, get your dates right. And then I just heard, Sandy, did they cast you aside? I find all of those, you didn't listen to your own number 20. You should be respectful to your own council members. And before you ask another council member in front of the public, did they cast you aside? Maybe you should have done your due diligence and found out what happened at the Environmental Advisory Committee. I'm sorry, number 17 says you can't, I'm sorry, number 14 says, nothing herein shall require any council member to answer questions or engage in debate. Those are your own words. Thank you.
Just so the record's clear, I was at that EAC meeting, and what I witnessed was absolutely appalling.
You were not at that EAC meeting, because I was at the EAC meeting.
Then you didn't see me.
You are correct.
Okay. All right, Mr. Boulan.
All right, I'm Dave Boulan, and I'm not running for anything, okay? Like most of the people in this room tonight. And I am really pleased with Mark Hudson for getting the sound system. And as a matter of fact, I still notice some people have trouble talking into the microphone. I can't name them though. At any rate, I had a couple of comments. I unfortunately was not here for the last meeting on Tuesday. My wife had to have her eyes operated on. So I didn't quite make it, but I did listen to the tapes. And again, congratulations to both of all the staff that does that, because I'm really tired of hearing people say, gee, I know I said that, and you go listen and no, you didn't see it, okay? So I'm gonna start calling people out on both sides for that, because I'm tired. It doesn't do me any good. What I really like, though, is this council enforcing the rules of the 3 minutes, of the fact that we're not having pop-ups come out of the audience because they disagree with them and act like some child. I can't tell you how great that is. Thank you. Whether I agree with them or disagree with them, yeah, I get gritsy inside too. All right, that's from Mark. Firefighters, spectacular. Did anybody do the numbers on that? For the cost of somebody to write the grant versus what we got back, that's 80 cents returns $100. I didn't hear anybody whooping it up here. And I think we lose track of that. That's why I say, as soon as the moon passes and the elections are over, all of this goes away. And by God, these people that really, who do not, for the most part, I don't know who takes a salary anymore, but my last count was, I think 4 or 5 gave that up. They work on their own, and by goodness, you couldn't hire them on the outside if you had to for what they bring. So that's the ROI note. Aside from the litigation thing, yeah, I think that's absolutely right. What's the return on value of asking somebody like Link to put together all of these costs and numbers when you can just stop over here and see Kathy Gorham and say, what are they? This is getting crazy. So the last thing I had was, there was a doctor who spoke and said something last week, and I listened to it in the minutes. He said the penalties are draconian for the library if we don't follow through. I'll tell you, any of you people that ever done something serious with money involved and contracts, boy, you better be draconian, otherwise you'll get walked all over. So that's it, and thank you very much, and I almost enjoyed it tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bland, and all the best to your wife's recovery as well.
Oh, yes, thank you.
All right, I think that concludes the meeting. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
That was not a non-agenda item.
Ms. River? Mr. Bonanno?
Yes.
Mr. Carocci?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
He was the invisible.
Mr. Inglis?
Yes.
Motion passes.
I saw the first tattoo of the invisible man, the invisible man is like a tattoo artist. Put it where nobody can see it. Oh, I should throw it away. Send me an I'll throw it away.
Good night.
Uncle